Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of our video blog. I want to talk to you about what's happened since the last video that was positive and all cheery, and we were sailing to Turks and Caicos, and kind of the near, not disaster, but very bad thing that happened to us as we were sailing from Long Island to the Acklins Islands on the way to Turks and Caicos, as our last video was saying. We had left Georgetown, bright and early in the morning, and it was a beautiful, beautiful morning to leave. And we navigated our way out the bay, just paying attention to the charts, really intently, and got out without bumping. We left at high tide, which I think helped a lot. So we anchored off of the northern tip of Long Island, and it was a nice anchorage, not protected, but it wasn't rolly. We left in the morning for the Acklins Islands, and long story short, we didn't make it. Well, today is a very dark day for Seawolf and our adventure. We were out sailing. It was like 17 knots of wind, and we just started. 7 a.m. in the morning. We let our jib out. We raised the main, and all of a sudden, our main piece of metal that holds our jib to our boat, it broke. So the jib rips up my railing, because it's attached to my railing as well, and then it's going flapping. The jib is flapping all over the place. You might notice in some of my movies I have a knife on my hip always. Well, I always carried a knife on me, and at that moment I was very happy I had a knife very close reach, within very close reach, and a Leatherman on the other side, and I quickly ran up front and I started cutting away all the rigging. I managed to salvage the sail. Let me show you guys. The catastrophic failure. I managed to salvage the sail. Had to cut all my ropes, which sucks. Like $500 per rope. And I managed to pull the thing back out of the ocean. And now I've got it held with a ratchet strap to the front. But that's where it snapped, right there. So I've got a spinnaker halyard right now, kind of acting like a stay, supporting the front of the mast, because I have a little bit of sail up, just because we're making a beeline back to Fort Lauderdale. We're not trying to get this fixed in Banana Republic territory. So we're motor sailing straight back. Long story short, I got it under control, and it was very traumatizing for Sarah and for me. Most scary situation we've ever been in. I wouldn't say that scary situation is to come. More scary than that. So we left. We decided right at that point, we were like, you know what? We've got we need a new dinghy. Our dinghy's still falling apart. We couldn't find one in Georgetown. We were gonna buy one in Turks and Caicos for like $6,000. Out of control. And our list of things that we were running out of, and little bits and pieces that we need to buy, it's just getting longer and longer. And the fact that the winds had changed now, it's no longer the winter, it's all eastern winds now. So I thought I could, I do some tacking. My boat points really good to the wind, but it's uncomfortable for Sarah and for me. And I brought sails great into the wind, but I didn't really feel like sailing 1,000 miles into the wind. So we decided we're going to turn around. We're going to go back to Fort Lauderdale. We're going to repair, resupply, and reassess after this proper shakedown cruise. So 2 months in, 2.5 months in the Bahamas will, pretty much break everything that's going to break. And so we left, and we made our way back to Nassau the way we came, and we went through some of these cuts in the Exuma Islands, and anyone who sailed in the Exumas or is going to sail in the Exumas knows about the cuts in between the ocean side and the west side and the east side of the islands. And during, you know, when the tide is coming in or out, it is like a rapids river. It is, the current is probably, I would say, 10 knots. And unless you have a big boat with a very strong engine, and you can motor like 9 knots in normal water, don't try and go through, because as we were motoring through, I was nearly full blast and I was only going 1 knot, and it was actually pushing me towards the rocks, and I didn't notice it until I thought, you know, okay, we're slowly making progress on my GPS, but Sarah said, oh, Don, the rocks are getting really close.
Well, we're getting really close to that rock over there, Dom. This is like, Bear, stay here. When I saw like our back was like swinging towards it.
Nearly there.
I know it's really narrow in here.
And meanwhile, our boat now is damaged. My sail, my mast, is now not supported in the front, other than a spinnaker halyard I ran to the front and cranked it as tight as I could to act as a stay. And so we did that twice, going in the one cut and then coming back out, and it was very scary. A lot of lessons learned. We're not trying to do that again unless it's slack tide. The waves, the video does not do the waves justice. It was very scary. So, all the scariness. So we made it all the way back to Nassau, pretty uneventful. We crossed the, you know, the minefield over the Great Bahama Bank, I think it's called, you know, where all those coral heads are. We were able to spot them, didn't run aground, which was good. You only have about 3 feet under your keel, or 4 feet under your keel at that point, thank goodness, for us at least. And you know, we made it back to Nassau, catching barracuda the whole way. And we must have caught, you know, I would say 10 barracuda. I keep catching these great barracuda, and I wish I could eat them because they have tons of meat on them, but they're pretty nasty looking in general, and I'm trying not to kill them now because I only have a hook, so I try and just hook them through the gills and then release them. I'm trying to catch tuna, but man, they're pretty big, as you can see. Let me show you. That's a pretty big fish. I mean, you know, there's my side of my flag, which is 24 inches long, so that's nearly 3 feet long. In our journey for between, you know, Georgetown and Fort Lauderdale, and we, you know, I bought the steel rope leaders so they wouldn't bite through my my fishing line. They kept on doing that. So, you know, we hung out in Nassau, but we went back to our friends that we thought we would, you know, never see again until we came back there on a cruise ship or something, or we visited. They were like, well, you're not supposed to be back here. And we got our cards, which we got shipped to Nassau from, you know, our mail forwarding service, and we actually were going to abandon them. And a bunch of our mail we got shipped to Nassau because unless it's FedEx, once it's in Nassau Postal Service, it took 2 weeks to go from the airport 1 mile down the road to the FedEx store, or the mailbox store. So it was just out of control, the inefficiencies of the Bahamas, which, that's the islands for you, island time. So we left Nassau and you know, caught more barracuda and more good motoring. You know, Sarah at this point was, you know, we're pretty fed up, and we're questioning our whole this whole adventure. You know, it's a little disheartening when things keep on going wrong, and you know, a boat, it's bust out another 1,000. and we don't have thousands. So, you know, we got back to Fort Lauderdale, crossed the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream was really strong, but at least we had an eastern wind with eastern current. But, you know, we left Bimini Islands, and it pushed us, you know, all the way. It kept on pushing us north until I kept on trying to turn into Fort Lauderdale because I wanted to go to Fort Lauderdale. And I was nearly at full speed, and I was only going 3 knots, you know, 2.5 knots into the, you know, the wind was behind me, but the current was so strong, I was, you know, very, very slow. So what I decided to do was just go up north, and then once the stream is not as strong, turn, and then go back down towards Fort Lauderdale. I could have went into Hillsborough Inlet, but I didn't want to. I wanted to go to Fort Lauderdale, so I could be close bike riding all the stores. But the adventure wasn't done, you know, testing us. And as we pulled in Fort Lauderdale, there was this most ominous haze of rain, lightning, and dark clouds that we've ever seen. I was 1.5 miles from the shore, and I couldn't see we couldn't see the city. You know, I kept on saying, there's Pompano Beach, and there's, you know, Boca and all these other places. You know, we could see them as clear as day because the clouds weren't over there. But this scary, you know, fingers of God were just moving across the sky, and you know, we're sailing right into it. And you know, there was a couple ships out there at anchor waiting to pull into the you know, the bay, and then there was a cruise ship pulling out of the bay, and I mean, you know, they don't even notice it. Well, I'm sure they did. The boat was rocking for them. I could see it. But for us, I mean, the waves were just, I mean, the biggest waves we've encountered so far. We're always going to have bigger waves out there, and well, hopefully not. But for us, you know, the waves were just really, really, you know, scary. And it's not the fact that the waves were so scary, it was the fact that I trust my boat. Beforehand, I had trusted my boat. I know it's strong. I know this boat is built to handle that kind of stuff. But my boat was damaged, and so my mast wasn't as supported as it should be. You know, some of my stays are loose. My back main, you know, my back stay, you know, it's hydraulic, and I pumped it all the way, and it's still loose. So it was just a very dangerous situation. And we had, you know, we'd already thought, like, what do we do if the mast, like, just decides to just come off the boat? You know, we just hide below. I'll come up there, and you know, once everything's like smashed over the side, and I'll come up and pull all the pins, and we'll go into Fort Lauderdale, and that would have been the end of our journey. But it didn't break. The boat was, you know, it's an old girl. It's, you know, 15 years old, and I just learned now I need to just start babying her just a little bit more. Because we were, you know, tacking for days, going 9.5 knots in big seas, running the autopilot, and it's just, you know, you just can't be doing that to a boat unless you've got full crew and, you know, everything has been perfectly, meticulously maintained and surveyed, and, you know, you can't be pushing a boat that hard. So, we're back in Fort Lauderdale. We made it in okay, and it's another long video, so I had to keep, you know, blabbering, but we made it back to Fort Lauderdale, and then we had the challenge of trying to find somewhere to anchor. And anyone who's been in Fort Lauderdale knows there's nowhere to anchor. There's a few spots where, you know, you have mooring balls off Los Olas Boulevard, which there's like 5. Then there's another place a little bit farther north, but the only place to anchor is Lake Sylvia. And we have a 7-foot keel, and if anybody looks at the charts, you would say, you can't go to Lake Sylvia. Well, you know, rumor had it that Lake Sylvia itself is deep, which it is, but we tried to go in during mid-tide. Couldn't happen. So we went, hugged the left wall during high tide the next morning. We stayed on a mooring ball, just tied up to it. I don't know who we were supposed to pay, but who cares. And we went back during high tide, made it in, and now we're here in Lake Sylvia, and that is our story up to this point. I've taken everything apart on the front of the boat now. The boat looks terrible. It's got a sail sitting on the deck. It, you know, everything's all apart on the front, and it just looks very sad. You know, this is a beautiful boat, and it deserves to be put back together. And it needs to be cleaned. It is so dirty. The dog fur, it's just out of control. So we're going to install a washdown hose with a Y valve with salt water and fresh water So I can blast all the dirt off the deck and fur off the deck with salt water, and then go below, switch it to my tank to fresh water, and then just wash everything off with fresh water after I'm done. So that's our mission. I have a few tasks. I'm going to service my engine, service the generator, get the furler professionally put back together, install my washdown, clean the boat, and then stay tuned where we are heading next. I'm not sure. So hopefully I've been able to edit this video down to about 10 minutes, but I'm not sure if that's would have happened. So please, if you want to see more videos, ask us some questions in the comment section. Press the subscribe button, like and share on your Facebook if you have one. And wish us luck. We're gonna need it.